Let's begin by talking about and adding a CSS reset to your project. Matter of fact, you should probably do this with all of your upcoming projects. So a reset, basically, if you will, if I really want to simplify this, will zero out your browser. And this will zero out or put on a common playing field all of the browsers. So the idea is to take those small differences as far as how browsers might work with different CSS properties or different margin and padding of some elements and make them all the same. So a reset, which I like to use, so you can do a search for, I believe it's Meyer Reset. And you can go to meyerweb.com, and then he has Reset 2.0. So I'm just going to skip to this one. I believe this might be his latest version. Now there are other resets, and you should find what works for you, or maybe you're working with someone and they have a reset which they like to use. All right, I'll leave that up to you. I like the Eric Meyer's reset myself. So let's just go, and basically we should see his reset. So you can just copy this and literally paste it into your projects. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the demo which I put together for the exercise, and I'm in the source code, and you're going to notice across the top there's all of these CSS files. Now there are different strategies. I have taken this particular strategy of basically importing multiple CSS files. Okay, some people prefer to have a CSS file. So as an example, if I were to go to main interface, and they're just going to have a CSS file with all of their rules, kind of like what we were doing in CodePen. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to first, let's go to our source code, and you will see that we have our link to a style sheet. Our style sheet is simply called styles.css with the relationship of style sheet, and the type is text CSS. And again, we should link our CSS styles following the title of a document. And I will point out that every page you create should have a clear, meaningful title. They don't have to be long, but what you want to do is you want to try to inform the search engine of the content, the meaning, and or the purpose of the page. What is the content? What is the meaning or purpose of that content? Be very direct, to the point, be very literal. Okay, you're not writing this for a English assignment, or you're writing this just to supply information to the search engines. Okay, now with that being said, let's go back. We have our link, and in my strategy I am going to link a style sheet, and in this style sheet I'm going to import all of my different CSS files, and you'll notice I have the Meyer Reset. I'll then have CSS for main menu, main interface, the overview page, the type or the typography page, the color harmony page, and then I have these examples later which will go into more detail as far as using CSS floats, flexbox, and grid. So I'm breaking these all up into individual HTML files. Okay, and we're just using @import, and then I'm using the URL to the CSS page, which is also in the root level. So you'll notice over here, I'm working in Dreamweaver. I've targeted on my desktop my root level folder, which is exercise, I believe exercise 6. And then we now can see, okay, so if we close this, that's just the exercise 6 folder. We now see all of the files inside. And you can see that here's our start point of our index. And then you will see all of the different CSS files. Now, you could place all of your CSS inside of one single CSS file. I've chosen this path because, or this strategy, because for me, it's more organized. And it's easier to get at the individual CSS files. And then I don't have to worry so much about if I make a change in one of my CSS, if I make a change in the CSS file, what if that change adversely affects all of the other HTML pages which are linked to it? So if I keep them all separate, then I'll cut down on that possibility. All right, so you'll see that we are importing Meyer Reset.css, and then we simply paste in our reset code, which again is available at, or I should say on Eric Meyer's website. So let's go back, and I'm going to point out that if I go through his reset here, and again the reset is just going to zero out the web browser, so no matter which web browser is being used, the layout should remain very consistent. Okay, now I'm looking through here and I'm not seeing, I could be overlooking, but I am not seeing the CSS3 version of working with the box model. So I personally, what I've done is in my main interface, I should have the universal selector, I do right here, and then I'm having box sizing border box. This way all of my pages, all of my layouts will be based off of using the CSS3 I can't believe I forgot this, box model, the CSS3 box model, okay, where we do not have to calculate additional border, margin, or padding, which we add to each of our elements. All right, so hopefully this makes sense as far as, again, I have my index, my start point for my project. We are linking, in this case, to a single CSS file. This CSS file is importing multiple CSS files, and you can see each of them showing up across the top of my Dreamweaver document. Okay. Now again, this is my strategy. This is how I organize my CSS files. It's completely open for you to approach this however works best for you, whatever makes the most sense for you, whatever works best with your form of organization.